In the dusty plains of what is now Pakistan and northwest India, once flourished a civilization so advanced, so forward-thinking, that its remnants still leave modern archaeologists in awe. The Indus Valley Civilization, also known as the Harappan Civilization, wasn't just one of the oldest societies in human history, it was one of the most sophisticated. Thriving from around 3300 to 1300 BC, this ancient powerhouse stood alongside the great civilizations of Egypt and Mesopotamia, and in some ways, even outpaced them. They built vast cities, planned with precision. Grid-like streets laid out in perfect alignment, lined with multi-story brick houses that had their own private wells, bathrooms, and a drainage system so advanced that it would put many modern towns to shame. Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa, Lothal, these were not just settlements, they were statements of what was possible when human beings worked together, guided by innovation rather than conquest. There were no palaces, no grand temples dominating the skyline. Power seemed to rest in administration, not in kings. A society built on order, cleanliness, and balance. Trade routes stretched as far as Mesopotamia. They had standardized weights and measures. Their writing system, though still undeciphered, appears everywhere, on seals, pottery, and tools, whispering to us across time about a people we still barely understand. And yet, around 1900 BC, something changed. Something massive. Slowly, silently, the light began to fade. There was no single catastrophe, no burning cities, no mass graves, no evidence of warfare. For years, scholars puzzled over the mystery of how such an advanced civilization could disappear. Then, the answer began to emerge, not from ruins, but from the soil, the rivers, and the skies. The climate had changed. Evidence shows that the once reliable monsoon rains began to weaken. Year by year, the rains became less frequent, less predictable. Crops failed. Reservoirs dried. The lifeblood of the civilization, the mighty rivers, especially the Ghaggar Hakra, believed by some to be the ancient Sarasvati, began to vanish. Some dried completely. Others may have shifted their course due to tectonic activity, leaving entire cities stranded in arid land. Imagine entire communities watching their fields crack with drought, their canals fill with dust, their wells run dry. This wasn't a sudden disaster, it was a slow, creeping collapse. Families abandoned homes their ancestors had built over generations. Temples, marketplaces, and baths fell silent. No armies invaded. No great fire raged. The earth simply changed, and with it, the rhythm of their lives. And so the people moved eastward, toward the Ganges basin, where the rains still came. They didn't vanish, they adapted, became part of new cultures, leaving behind only the bones of their cities and the whispers of their greatness. By 1700 BC, most of the Indus Valley cities were abandoned. Nature began its reclamation. Walls crumbled. Streets disappeared beneath sand. Silence replaced the sounds of a bustling metropolis. The Harappans, once architects of order, had faded into the background of history. But they were not forgotten. Their legacy lives on, in the orderly design of our modern cities, in the idea that a society can thrive through cooperation rather than conquest, and in the haunting ruins that still rise from the earth like questions waiting for answers. The Indus Valley Civilization did not end with fire or sword, but with silence and dust. It was not defeated, it simply yielded to a force far greater than itself, the unrelenting, ungovernable power of nature. And as centuries passed, the memory of the Harappan civilization began to fade from the collective human story. Their cities were buried by time, their innovations forgotten by the world they once helped shape. It wasn't until the 1920s that modern archaeologists, while laying railway lines in British India, stumbled upon the lost ruins of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. What they found was nothing short of astonishing. Streets aligned with mathematical precision. Advanced drainage systems that spoke of public health awareness thousands of years ahead of its time. Intricately designed seals with mysterious symbols, possibly a lost written language, waiting silently to be understood. Artifacts crafted with care, tools of trade, toys of children, and amulets of belief, all preserved in the soil, untouched for over 4 millennia. Slowly, a new picture emerged, not of a forgotten people, but of pioneers who had once lived in harmony with nature, with structure, and with one another. And yet, even in rediscovery, mystery remains. Who were these people? What did they believe? Why did they never build massive temples or kings' tombs like their contemporaries? Could it be that theirs was a society more equal, more decentralized? The evidence suggests a lack of hierarchy in city structures, no overwhelming monuments to gods or rulers. Perhaps this was a civilization where administration and cooperation held more value than conquest and domination. A civilization that lived with nature, not above it. But nature, as history teaches us again and again, does not bend to human will. The Harappans were not the first to fall before shifting skies, and they will not be the last. Their story is not just of a past people, it is a warning, an echo across time. Climate change brought down a society that had mastered balance, planning, and resilience. And today, as modern cities grow larger and more dependent on fragile ecosystems, the lesson becomes clearer. No matter how strong our systems, how advanced our technology, we remain vulnerable to the planet's rhythms. The Harappans did not vanish in flames, but in quiet retreat. They remind us that human progress is not invincible. They show us that even the most forward-thinking societies must respect the environment they thrive in. Today, as we face our own environmental challenges, the story of the Indus Valley is more than history, it is prophecy. In the baked bricks of Mohenjo-Daro, in the dry wells of Harappa, in the monsoon patterns of South Asia, their voice still speaks. Not with fear, but with wisdom. A whisper from the past urging us to listen, to adapt, to prepare. For civilizations do not always fall from violence. Sometimes, they fade when the rains no longer come.